Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I know you all are going to love this one because in this episode, we're going to be continuing our indoor gardening series. This is going to be the second episode in the series where we're going to plant out the bed. In the last episode, we kind of ran out of time. Do apologize about that, but there was a lot that I wanted to cover. And so there'll be a lot that I want to cover in this episode too, as far as not only how we plant out the bed and get everything to fit, because there's a lot of stuff to fit into 16 square feet. And that was one of the biggest questions people raised is, Luke, how is everything going to fit? Well, we did pick smart varieties that are going to be better fit for this area, but also how we lay it out is going to be a big key to success. So you're definitely going to want to follow along, but also what we're going to be doing is answering some more questions as it pertains to the bed. There were a lot of questions raised about the soil and the lights and watering, drainage, things like that we're going to cover as well. So I know you all are going to love it. I do hope you all will learn something from this episode, and let's get going into it. All right, so before we get planting out the garden, I wanted to answer a few questions about our lights because this is definitely the area that has the most questions. So I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the lights. So the first question that always comes up is, Luke, what lights are you using? So first off, we are using an 8-bulb T5 grow light. So there's a lot there, but let me break it down. So it is a grow light. So it's actually for growing specific. You can get other compact fluorescents, which we'll get into, to grow plants, as well as LEDs and things like that. But it is a grow light specific light. So that's part of it. The next thing is it's an 8-bulb T5. And that basically means there's 8 T5 bulbs. So hopefully I've broken that down so everyone understands. Because when I say it all in one, sometimes people are like, it's way over their heads. Now, when it comes to grow lights, it's very important that you get a grow light that is going to suit your needs. If you're starting something like seedlings that don't require a whole lot of light, it's very important to understand that you don't have to go with something like this. A basic shop light will work. In fact, I'll show you a shop light that we did use for several years without any problem at all, that now we're using we've repurposed it for lighting in here in the office. So I'll show you that because I think often it's a very common misconception that you have to get a grow light. A grow light's great for growing fully mature plants, and they have the lights that you get are high output lights, meaning they have much more output to them, meaning that you can get a lot more growable light and more energy is given off. But a regular compact fluorescent will work just fine for starting seeds. So I want to talk about that. So this is a shop light. You can find these at any hardware store. They generally have 2 bulbs, and the length is still a T5 length, but the bulbs do not put out the same energy as a high output light. So you're going to get very good results as long as you keep the plants around 3 to 4 inches from the light. You won't risk them burning because even at 3 to 4 inches, it's barely warm. There's no heat really given off, unless of course you like touch the light. Then it's rather warm enough to burn the leaves of a plant, but it's still almost what you'd consider cool to the touch. It's not really a hot light. But so yeah, just really keep them really close and you'll be fine. The high output compact fluorescent is by far the most cost effective and efficient that is out there. LEDs are a great option, and that brings me to my second question is, Luke, what about LEDs? Well, LEDs are great, but I do find that they're still very expensive for really the space that they cover in terms of coverage. They have a very narrow, basically the angle of the light is very narrow, meaning that if you spend $150 to $200, you're going to get a grow light that will illuminate about a 2-foot by 3-foot space effectively, and that's really the amount of growable light that it will illuminate. Whereas one of these ran me about $125, and I can grow about 8 square feet. So I actually have 2 of these lights, one over there and one right here. I have 2 of them covering 16 square feet, and it grows them plenty fine. And I'm able, because the lights are so powerful, I'm able to keep them about 24 inches away from the base of the soil, and the plants don't get leggy at all, which is very important because if your plants begin to stretch, they begin to turn stressed because they're stressing to find the light and reach the light. So you want to make sure that your that the output of your lights is strong enough so that you don't have stressed plants, because once a plant is stressed, it's very hard to unstress it. Once that legginess begins, it can't be reversed, unfortunately. The final question that I do get about these is, Luke, how often do you have to change the bulbs? So we've been using the same bulbs for the past 5 years, I'd say, maybe 4 years. I can't quite remember exactly. I think it's 4 or 5 years now. I've lost track, so if that means anything. But I've never replaced the bulbs, and they grow just fine. They typically say that the lifespan on a grow light is around 10,000 to 12,000 hours before needing to be replaced. And to me, I don't quite buy into that, because I have not yet noticed a decline in growing results, yet they've gone for probably close to 12 to 13,000 hours already. And I've never noticed a difference at all, a drop off whatsoever. So there may be some validity to it, but in terms of a non-professional grower like myself that's growing for my garden and my needs, I'm perfectly fine not replacing the lights just yet. But I will say that in the next year or 2 years, or maybe even 3, depending on how my results look, I will eventually replace the lights. That is an inevitable thing that I will do. I'm just not sure of when yet, because the results, like I said, they've never disappointed me yet. And each light will run you about, depends on the brand obviously, but these right here are Sunblaster brand lights. Those are probably the top of the line light that you're going to get. I got them on sale, otherwise I probably wouldn't have bought those because they're very expensive. But an average T5 grow light high output bulb is going to run you about $8 to $10 a piece. So it's definitely something that in an 8 bulb setup, I don't really want to drop $80 unless I absolutely have to. So one of the big questions that is always asked about the soil for either indoor grow beds or containers or things like anything like that is, Luke, can I use any ordinary soil? The answer is no. If you're growing indoors or you're growing in containers, you need a very high porosity soil. Don't go to the store and just get some bagged stuff. It's just not going to cut it. You really want some high quality, premium grade growing medium, because the fact that if you just go to the store and get the cheapest thing, they always cut corners, because they are cutting corners, and they don't really care about your results. They care about the product looking good. There's a lot of them out there. I won't even name names, but I don't even go to the big box store anymore because everything was giving me less than desirable results. So I found that the 2 best options for me were either to make my own or to buy Pro Mix, which is hands down the best potting mix ever. And I'm not getting paid to say that whatsoever. Not a sponsor, they're not sponsoring me, they're not paying me to say that. It's just from personal experience. I actually went out and purchased this soil myself because I really do care about the results that I get. And you really can't touch the quality. Also, you do pay up for it, obviously, but it's a premium quality ingredient or growing medium that you have here. And that's because they use premium ingredients, which is definitely important. But the other option is to make it yourself. You can get basically a very similar result by using 1 part peat moss to 1 part coconut coir to 1 part vermiculite to 1 part perlite. And that will give you a very consistent mix to what this is here. It's very loose, it's very airy, it's very well draining. You'll notice it holds onto water quite well. And if I squeeze it, you'll notice there's just a few drops coming out, but it's not soaking wet, and it will crumble and basically break apart. It also has a really good ability to drain. You'll notice that even though I've watered this with about maybe 15 gallons or so of water in this 16 square feet, I basically say about 1 gallon per square foot when you first are setting up your bed to really soak the soil well. You'll notice there's no standing water anywhere. There's no soppiness. It's not like a swamp. Whereas other soil, if it's not a high quality, high porosity soil that's going to absorb like a sponge and drain really well, it will kind of just pool up and mud up and turn really, it's very silty, and it will just kind of make a mess when you put that much water in this much square footage. But this, like I said, is just great. It feels great, it smells great, and I always do say this, soil that smells very good usually grows very well. Because you want a fertile growing medium to grow plants in, it should smell fertile. It should smell like earth. If it smells like it's been cooked and it smells like it's very void of life and there's really no organic smell to it, it's probably not going to grow your plants very well. And I've noticed that time and time again, that anytime I get a soil that smells, to be honest, very earthy and aromatic and organic, it's always grown my plants so far better than anything I've gotten that has smelt bland, if you will. All right, so we're just getting ready to plant. And one of the things that I wanted to show you all is something we do every single year, regardless if it's inside or outside. It's proper planting. I can't tell you how many times I see people run out of space prematurely, and then they end up with varieties that they were hoping to get planted, but didn't get planted because once you use up all your space, it's very hard to say, shoot, I got to go back and find the seed and consolidate, because it's like finding a needle in a haystack. I mean, if you planted out too much lettuce and wanted to, reduce that space down to plant something else in that space, it's very hard to go find that lettuce seed, and then stuff is sprouting up everywhere, and then it just becomes a jumbled up mess. So it's very important to pre-plan, folks. Pre-plan. It's so easy. All you have to do is just mark out your space with your finger or a shovel or whatever, and then set your packet right there. Okay, that is how much space I want to give to my cucumbers. And I'll draw out another little space here. Maybe I want to draw out a little bit less space, and I want to make sure that, I'm going to put my onions there, as an example. And when the whole thing is planted out, that way you know how much space you have allotted for every single variety. And then what we do is, once everything is laid out, we'll go packet by packet. We'll pick up the packet, open it up, plant the amount of seeds we need to fill this space. Then if there's any seed extra, we set it aside. And this space has been planted out, and we guaranteed got that variety in the garden. Instead of just holding all the packets in your hand like I see so many gardeners do, and just go packet by packet, hoping that you will estimate enough space for everything. It's a big mistake, and it's a great way to not use your space as efficiently. And as you can see, we've got the whole garden planned out with lots of space to spare. Now, this is going to make sure that everything has lots of space to fill out, grow out, and that huge handful of seed packets that everyone was saying, there's no way you're going to fit that in 16 square feet. Turns out, I have space to spare. So I might be able to actually give some more space to other varieties we really love a lot that we want to grow more of. And so you can see here that this really helps to make sure that everything gets planted out here. And that is how you do it. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you learned something new. And we'll see you all on episode 3. All right. Catch you all later. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel reminding you to grow big or go home. And we'll catch you all later. See ya. Bye.